White folks make mistakes too. Not quite as many as some other folks, and when white folks make mistakes, they at least experience a degree of shame. That sort of separates them from the other classes, because upper class people must endure shame for their mistakes. If you are a member of a certain class, a lower class, you can boast about your mistakes and claim that they were not mistakes. You can claim that your past made you who you are today, and you're proud of who you are today. Therefore, you're not ashamed that you're utterly promiscuous, that your daddy was a drug pusher. It just shows that you're seasoned, hardened, street smart, outside the box, free, enlightened, progressive. The framers of the Constitution specifically noted two categories of people. The framers of the Constitution, describing the qualifications for the office of President of the United States, they specified two different groups of people. Those who were citizens at the time of the adoption of the Constitution, such as themselves. Many of them were born in other countries, usually England. Therefore, they were not natural-born citizens, but they were grandfathered in through this special clause saying that only natural-born citizens and people like ourselves who were born outside this country at the time of the adoption of the Constitution can be candidates for president. Those are the only two. That was their take on what they meant by natural-born citizens. They didn't want the president to have mixed loyalty or to be under the jurisdiction of the laws of another country, such as you would be if your father was a citizen of the British colony of Kenya. At birth, you would be considered by law a citizen of the British Empire, which later became the country of Kenya, whose constitution specifies legally the standing of people born outside Kenya whose father was a Kenyan. There's a reason Obama doesn't want you to see his original birth certificate or to talk about his original birth certificate. It's a forgery. It's a lie. Because his father was not Barack Obama Sr., Barack Hussein Obama Sr. from Kenya. Frank Marshall Davis had a distinct feature of his face. It wasn't so much that his lips were swollen, but that the flesh below his lower lip was swollen. And that genetic trait was passed on to his children. That is why Barack Obama doesn't want to talk about his forged birth certificate. He would rather have you think that he is the son of Barack Hussein Obama of Kenya. He would rather not have you think that he is the illegitimate child of Frank Marshall Davis, the child molester, the sex pervert, the pornographer, and drug dealer who lived in the slums of Waikiki in a shack, and who pushed a hot dog stand around the streets, pretending to sell hot dogs when in fact he was selling hard drugs, and spending his nights heavily engaged in the most perverse forms of sexual activity. Yes, Barack Obama is trash, the worst kind of trash, the worst kind of liar, not even beyond the fact that he is immersed in communist influence and radical leftist ideology. But most importantly, beyond the fact of his character, lack of character, and his political leanings toward Marxism, is the fact that if he wants to maintain the charade that he is the child of Barack Hussein Obama Sr. from Kenya, he is thereby disqualified from serving as President of the United States because he is not a natural-born citizen. He was born a citizen of the British Empire and subject to the laws of the British Empire. This case, Leo Donofrio versus Wells, the Secretary of State of New Jersey, is now before the Supreme Court. Having been filed properly, we don't want to see Barack Obama's birth certificate necessarily. We wouldn't mind seeing it, but we want the United States Supreme Court to rule on the eligibility of a citizen from Kenya or the British Empire, British colony, the United Kingdom, to run for such an office. And the Supreme Court is looking at that very matter right now. It is primarily in the hands of a black man, Clarence Thomas, because this man named Souter saw the case and threw it out. At which point Donofrio was free to petition another justice, and he petitioned Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas agreed to bring this matter before all 9 justices of the Supreme Court to consider it. Now, this doesn't mean that they ruled on it. We don't know how they will rule. But Clarence Thomas has accepted this case to be considered in a conference of all 9 justices.